In this movie, we will take a look at a technique that I call the Pie Wedge Reveal. I have a little QuickTime movie of our final effect here, and you can see that what we've got here is this circle with text in it that's being revealed, kind of like the way the hands go around a clock. Now you might think, gee, you know what, I could just use a oval primitive, and use the beginning angle and the ending angle for that, but it won't work. What we need to do is actually use a mask here. So we're going to create a semicircle mask and rotate it over this artwork. Now we're going to do some fancy footwork with the artwork symbol in order to show half of it for a while and then the other half for a while. So let's go ahead and go into Flash and take a look at what's going to happen. I have already taken the liberty of creating the art symbol. This is called Pie Wedge Content _art, and it's just a circle with some text in it. So let's go ahead and make our Pie Wedge masked symbol. Now you just have to bear with me on this Pie Wedge masked symbol. You'll see why I'm doing it when we get further down the road here. But for starters, we're just going to mask this symbol so in the first frame we have a ghost image of the whole artwork so we know how to place it. The second frame will have the bottom masked out but the top available, and the third frame will have the top masked out and the bottom available. Okay, so we can do this with using insert new symbol, and I'm going to call this Pie Wedge masked. And graphic symbol is good. It's actually the best type we want to use for this. Let's go ahead and put our content down here. And as I said, oops, grabbed the wrong one there. I wanted the art symbol. As I said, one of the first things I want is to have a ghost image in the first frame so I can tell how to position this thing. As you might have thought, whenever we played that thing, very little of the symbol is visible from the first frame. It's being revealed. So the first frame is actually going to be blank, and it's going to be really hard to see where you're putting it and how it's fitting in with the other content. So we're going to make this temporary layer, which we will go in and turn off later. Okay, so I want to go ahead and zero this out. So we're going to hit X is 0, tab over to the Y field, and Y is 0. You'll notice that this artwork is 200 by 200, so we're going to use those dimensions when we start making our masks and all. Okay, this is going to be our layer. I'm going to call this content guide. And we will go ahead and set our alpha color effect for this thing way down. 20%, that looks pretty good. Okay, that's our content guide. We're going to make another layer here. Now, as I said, I want the content guide to be in the first frame. Okay, this is the only place that I want to have this content guide. So I'm going to come in here and hit F7 to put a blank keyframe there. Okay. Now, we're going to come to this next frame. We'll put a keyframe on frame 2 for this layer, and this will be our content. Okay. So we'll go ahead and drag another instance of this Pie Wedge content art symbol out, align it the same way that we did. Now I really could have just copied and pasted in place from a content guide layer. Actually, that might have been the better way to do it to make sure that it's exactly at the same place, but this is going to work as well. Just to check though, I'm going to scrub the playhead back and forth to make sure that we're seeing the outfit out guide in the first frame, and they're at exactly the same spot. Okay, now this content is going to be masked. I want to see the top half of the content in frame 2 and the bottom half of the content in frame 3. We'll see why real soon. So we're going to have to create a mask for this, and let's go ahead and create another layer. We will make it a mask layer, and that will automatically set up this relationship between the mask layer and the one underneath so that the content is masked. However, we don't have a mask here yet. We're going to go ahead and place that mask on frame 2. So I will need a keyframe there, F6. Alrighty. Now let's go ahead and make our mask. We're going to use the oval tool. I don't want a stroke on here, so let's go ahead and turn that off. And we're going to use this pink color because this is a mask, and this is the color I always use for my masks so I don't get confused. Alrighty. Oval tool is selected. I'm going to hold down the Shift key so that I get a perfect circle. Go ahead and select this, and again, we're going to put this at 0, tab 0, tab it again down to the width field, and we're going to type in 200 for that. Since I do have this lock on, it's locking the dimensions, or the ratio I should say, to also 200 for the height. Just to make sure everything looks good, I'm going to turn this layer on and off to make sure that everything's lining up. Looks good. As I said, I wanted this to be a semicircle, right? So I'm going to have to come in here and make myself a line. Green color is great for the stroke. We will go ahead and draw our line across using the line tool. Keyboard shortcut for that is N. Now, these are both merged shapes. So if I put this line right in the middle of the circle, I'll be able to cut it in half. Okay? I know the circle is 200 pixels high. I know that the upper left-hand corner is at 0, 0. So all I have to do is put this line at half of the height, which is 100, and I will know that it's right in the middle. Okay, so right in the middle, that allows me to select these two separately. I'm going to select the bottom and delete it, select the line and delete it, and select the top and create a symbol out of it. We'll convert to symbol, and I'm going to call this semicircle mask. And there we have it. Now, if we look at the masking effect for this frame, remember this is frame 2, what we see is just the top half. We want to do the similar thing for frame 3, though we just want to see the bottom half now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a keyframe on my mask layer, F6, and just a static frame on my content layer because it's just going to stay in the same place. Okay, I have my mask. I want to rotate this around 180 degrees. If I did it right now using the free transform tool, not good. Okay, so I'm going to undo out of that. And instead, I want to place this transformation point down here at what would be the center of this if it were a circle. Now, if you have your snapping snap to objects turned on, that's going to allow you to move this thing and have it snap right to that handle, which makes it right at the center. My snapping is on also, so it's going to actually snap in to right at 180 degrees. If you find that it's not doing that, hold down your Shift key, and that will actually constrain it to 45-degree increments. Okay, so there it is, rotate it around. Go back to my selection tool. Now let's turn on the masking effect, and as we look at our timeline here, we have 3 states. Frame 1 shows only the ghost image. Frame 2 shows the top. Frame 3 shows the bottom. This is going to be a symbol that we never actually play. We never actually allow it to loop. Instead, we're going to use the graphic symbol properties in the properties panel in order to set it on single frame on frame 1, frame 2, and frame 3, depending on what we're going to use it for. Okay, Pie Wedge masked is complete. Next thing we need to do is make our reveal symbol. In that reveal symbol, we're going to use this symbol, this Pie Wedge art or Pie Wedge masked symbol in its 3 states to reveal, in the reveal symbol, we're going to use this Pie Wedge masked symbol in its 3 states as we need it for our tweens. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our Pie Wedge reveal symbol. Do this again. Insert new symbol is a fine way to do it since we already have our basic artwork done so we know our sizes. So I'll call this one Pie Wedge Reveal. Getting hungry yet? Okay, this is a graphic symbol. Again, this is a good thing because this way we'll be able to control it from outside. Click OK. We will go ahead and put our masked symbol on the timeline, just like so. And again, we want to put it 0, 0. Now you see there is that first frame. If I were to put some more frames on this timeline, hit F5 out here. Right now the play properties are set to loop. So if we were to play this timeline, you'd see this crazy stuff going on. That's not what we want. Actually, what we want is for this one to just sit here for now on frame 1. So we're going to set it to single frame, frame 1. Okay. This will allow us to position this symbol as we need. I'm going to call this layer as well content guide, because we will guide this layer out eventually so that we don't have it interfering when we finally publish. Okay, let's go ahead and make a couple more layers. We are going to do some masking here again because we're going to need to rotate that semicircle mask around this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this our mask layer. I'm going to go ahead and name this one. Change it to a mask layer. Go ahead and name this one content. And now let's give it some content. We'll have to unlock that layer, and we're going to use this Pie Wedge masked symbol that we made. Remember, this is that symbol that had the 3 frames in it. It had the grayed out frame at the top on frame 1, and then frame 2 had top half, frame 3 had bottom half. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that out here, and again put it at 0, 0. Here's where having that ghost layer, that ghost frame, really helps a lot. This isn't the frame we want it to be sitting on though. Actually, we want this thing to be sitting on frame 2. That's the frame that shows the top half. Okay, so just to kind of familiarize you with what we have so far, we have the ghost layer, we have nothing on the mask layer, and then we have the content layer that looks like this. Okay, next step, let's put our mask on here. I'm going to lock the other layers except for this one, select our first frame. We're going to use this semicircle mask. Okay, this one can also be aligned using the numbers. Let's check out our masking effect now, and you will see that in frame 1 now, we see all of it. That's not what we wanted. We want to reveal this. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is by coming in and rotating this mask up to show it. Okay, so the mask is going to have to start flipped 180, or I shouldn't say flipped, actually rotated 180 degrees. We can use our free transform tool for that. Go ahead and set your center of rotation there. I'm going to rotate it, and if you hold down your shift key, that will actually constrain your rotation to 45-degree increments, so we get it right on 180 there. Okay, this is going to be our starting point. If we look at our masking effect now, we see nothing. That's because our mask is not covering any of our content. I'm going to do this rotation of this mask all in one tween. So let's come out here to about frame 30. Let's make this whole tween about 30 frames long. I can't remember what the example was, but I'm just going to guess that it was 30. Place a keyframe with F6. We are going to create a classic tween. Then come up here and set our rotation to clockwise, and it gets the default 1 time. Let's take a look at what this looks like. I don't have this layer locked because I want to see how the mask is moving. So you can see there it goes. Hey, look at that. Look at my content. I forgot to set that graphic symbol play property. Oops. But anyhow, looking at the pink thing, we can see that it's making one complete rotation. Let's go ahead and fix that in graphic symbol property. Here, I think that what I did was I set the first frame to be 2, but I forgot to change it to single frame. Okay, now let's look at it again. So we see nothing in the first frame. I do have my content guide hidden. I want to show that. Nothing in the first frame. Our mask is going to rotate on and reveal the top. Uh-oh, but look at that. Now it's disappearing at the bottom. Well, how do we fix this? This is one of my favorite things about Flash, is we are going to fix this through deceit and trickery. Your audience doesn't need to know what's masked and what is not. All your audience needs to do is see that when our tween gets to this point, that they still see this little slice of the top. How can we do that? Well, we can add another layer up here. We can add a keyframe right at this spot where we want to see the entire top. and let's go ahead and hit F6 to add that keyframe. What we're going to do here is put our Pie Wedge masked another instance of this symbol on top here. Again, we'll line it up. And this one, we want to set it to single frame, frame 2. Okay, so let's watch this now. What you're going to see is the mask going around. All of a sudden, now this is where the mask started to move off of that left side, but now we have the symbol instance dropped on top on layer 4, and our mask is moving underneath. Of course, we can't really see anything when the mask is moving down there because there's nothing in the content layer. However, this is going to be one of those spots where that symbol comes in handy. At this point right here, this is where we added our mask content on frame 2 to that layer above. So I'm going to place a keyframe right here, F6, unlock it and select this instance. Let's see, let me go ahead and I'm going to hide everything else here. This is our instance here. Remember, it was sitting on frame 2. Now we're going to put it on frame 3. And now that semicircle, as it rotates around, will reveal this one. Let's go ahead and just look at what's on this content layer. I'm going to scrub across. You see that for the first 15 or so frames, it's showing the top. Then it flips over to show the bottom. At the same time that it's doing this flip, we have this other keyframe up here, which is adding the top. So if we look at just layer 4 and content, what we see is the top and then the bottom. Now if we add in our mask, what's happening is you can see the mask is going over and then coming over this one. Okay. Lock these two to see the masking effect, and what you now have is the entire pie revealed with one tween of a semicircle. Okay, this is the Pie Wedge Reveal. You can do a lot of stuff with this. It's useful for many, many other things. You could imagine that you have two semicircles that are opening up, kind of like a Pac-Man mouth or something like that. You can just reveal half of the semicircle. You can make it start at other places. Let's go ahead and actually just put this on the timeline so we can see it in action, and then we are done. I'm going to insert a frame here. Start on frame 1. Put Pie Wedge Reveal out here. Drag it to the stage. Let's go ahead and lock that tint layer. Now we have it set. I'm just going to tell it to play once, starting from the first frame, and we have this thing revealed like so. If we test our movie, you're going to see that I do have something that I haven't done here, right? I'm still seeing that ghost image. So let's go in and fix that ghost image. As you may remember, that is in the Pie Wedge Reveal. Remember, this was my content guide layer. I'm going to change this to a guide. And that guide means that it won't publish and it actually won't show outside of this timeline. So now you can see why we wanted that guide. This is what that symbol looks like when it's sitting on the first frame, because there's nothing to be seen. It's only as it plays its timeline. Okay, so without that guide layer, it would be very hard to place this. Alrighty, so this is our Pie Wedge Reveal. Think about all the ways you can use something like this.